does it gotta be so complicated? Maybe this love thing's overrated.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nicole. I am an esthetician. I love skincare, love Korean beauty, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my favorite sunscreens that I think you should be using in this coming summer, springish weather. You should always be using sunscreen year-round, but I know we're gonna be outside a lot more often now, so I really want to give you guys some of the more advanced recommendations that I think you should be using in the summer, spring heat. So let's get into it. The first product that I'm going to talk about is the Supergoop Glow Stick. This is 50 SPF and I believe it is also broad spectrum. Okay, so to clarify SPF and broad spectrum terms, SPF means that your sunscreen protects against UVB rays, and broad spectrum means that your sunscreen protects against UVA rays. Now, UVB rays and UVA rays are the two types of rays that are emitted by the sun that your sunscreen needs to protect you from. So when I say that sunscreen has an SPF of a certain number, and then I say that it also is broad spectrum, that basically means it protects against both rays, and most sunscreens do protect against both. It's kind of rare to find something that does not. All of these sunscreens here do protect against both UVB and UVA rays. I also want to disclose that I know that there has been a few scandals in the past that have to do with Korean and Asian sunscreens sort of not having the correct SPF on their sunscreens or marketing it incorrectly. I want you to know that all the sunscreens here, some of them are Korean and then some of them are also American sunscreens. All of these have been double checked or reformulated to be the proper SPF marketed. So no need to worry with these. These are all very well checked, established brands that have the proper SPF and that are sold on credible sites that make sure of these standards. I hope that clarifies things. So the Supergoop Glow Stick is one of my favorites because it's very hands-off, and especially with COVID being a thing, it's nice not to have to touch your face all the time when reapplying sunscreen. It is a sunscreen stick, so it's very important that you use this really only on your face, neck, and possibly hand area, because SPF sticks are not going to be enough sunscreen for your body. So this is not a body sunscreen, this is a face sunscreen and potentially hands and feet sunscreen if you really want to go there. But I would say that this is a great sunscreen to use in the office when you're working near a window, or if you're really just going outside very quickly, maybe you're going to class and you don't want to apply like a big cream on your face, you can just use one of these sticks and then pop it in your bag, and it's very easy to reapply when you need to. So the next sunscreen I want to talk about is a Korean sunscreen, and this is by Neogen, and this is their Airy sunscreen daylight protection. It's broad spectrum and 50 SPF, so it protects against everything. You don't need to worry. 50 SPF is usually the SPF that I recommend people use. There's no problem with going higher than that, but I would say 30 to 50 is typically a good range to be in, and I think 50 is probably the safest or the highest you could probably go without it not mattering anymore, because usually the higher you go after 50, the less it sort of like actually provides you more and more protection. It usually provides you the same amount. So 50 is usually the one that I recommend you stick with. I love this SPF because it gives me very much Crave Beauty Beach Shield vibes. Now it is the proper SPF, don't worry about that, but I just love the serum texture. It smells very, very nice and like fruity and like very nicely scented and sweet. It also applies pretty much invisible. I know a lot of people who have darker skin tones really enjoy using this sunscreen because it doesn't leave a white cast on their skin. I would also agree in my situation, I don't really see any white cast or any white cast at all. And even when it applies to my skin, it applies like a serum, so there is not much of a white tint to this at all that would provide or leave a white cast on the skin. So this is a really beautiful sunscreen. This is a chemical sunscreen, so it's not mineral. It contains chemical sunscreen ingredients. Mineral is a little bit different, and all of these are actually, I believe, all chemical sunscreens. None of them are even hybrid. So yeah, this one I love. You can get it on Superglam. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so I lied when I said that all of these are chemical sunscreens. This sunscreen by tower28, this is their Sunny Days Broad Spectrum SPF 30 tinted sunscreen. It contains zinc oxide, which protects against both UVA and UVB rays, but it is a mineral sunscreen ingredient. And people like mineral sunscreens a little bit better than chemical, sometimes because mineral can be a lot less irritating on the skin. That's also why people really enjoy Asian sunscreens, is because they have different filters that are a lot less irritating on the skin as well for chemical sunscreens. So chemical sunscreens from Asia are typically a lot more gentle on the skin in compared to chemical sunscreens we see here in America. I would say Supergoop is a really good example of an American brand that does a really good job at creating sunscreens that are chemical, that are not sensitizing. But this tower28 one, I would say if you have sensitive skin, is a really great option. Also, if you have darker skin, this is also a great option because this comes in multiple different tones, different colors that you can use on your skin. And this one is in the color Larkmont. It's number 10. So it's definitely a lighter color, but it is supposed to match your skin tone, and it sort of acts a little bit like a very lightweight BB cream on the skin. So if you're looking for a sunscreen that also doubles as a sort of coverage foundation BB cream style product, this is definitely a really good option for you. I would say it's not as heavy as a foundation, but it definitely reminds me of a BB cream and definitely gives some coverage to the skin. So on those hot summer days where you might not want to wear foundation, but you want to have some coverage, this tower28 one is great. It also will blend in with your skin, won't leave a white cast, does all of the above, and the zinc oxide is definitely very helpful in not irritating your skin. So the next sunscreen I want to talk about is also a Supergoop sunscreen, and this is the Unseen Sunscreen SPF 40. It's broad spectrum, so it protects against all of the above. What I love about this sunscreen is that it's like a very jelly texture, and it's clear, like just clear. So a lot of these other sunscreens do have a slight tint to them, whether it be white, whether it be like a more like greeny color from the different antioxidant ingredients that they use inside their product. This one is just plain clear, so you really absolutely do not have to worry about a white cast at all. This sunscreen is definitely loved amongst the community. Everyone has had their hands on this sunscreen at some point. This texture is very lightweight. It feels very jelly, and I really like applying it to my skin because it gives it that very smooth finish. Some people don't really like the jelly texture of this because it can be a little bit like viscous and bouncy, but I personally really like it, and it feels super, super lightweight like air. So if you are looking for a sunscreen that just doesn't feel, smell, or even look like one, I think that this is going to be your best bet. It is a chemical sunscreen, but it's very gentle, and I've never had any problems with it personally. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one as well. So the last sunscreen that I wanted to talk about that I've been seeing gain a little bit of traction, and I'm excited for it, is this vegan sun cream. It's 50 SPF PA+++++. PA with the pluses at the end just means it protects against UVA rays. So this is a broad spectrum SPF sunscreen. It's going to protect against UVA and UVB rays. So this is by the brand Hyggee, and you can find this on Bemused if you are interested. This sunscreen also reminds me of the Beat Shield from Crave Beauty, and it has a very similar texture and color, and it blends in just super, super easily to the skin. I'm blending it in right now. I would say it does smell a little bit more like sunscreen than the rest of these options. Maybe the tower28 one smells a little bit more like sunscreen right next to this one. But I would say that this, out of all of them, I would say definitely has less of a sunscreeny feel. If I were to sort of think about which ones have the most sunscreeny feel, I would say that tower28 has the most sunscreen-like feel to it, where I would say like the Unseen sunscreen is definitely one that does not feel like sunscreen at all. And I feel like this vegan sun cream and the Neogen Airy sunscreen, these two are very, very similar in texture, and the way that they apply to the skin is very much like a serum. I would say that this one has more of a sunscreeny smell, where this one has a fruity, almost citrus smell. So I don't know how they're really that much different from each other. I would say that this gives off a little bit more of like a cream vibe, where this one gives more like a serum-y vibe. So this one also is not as glowy as the Neogen one. It's definitely a little bit more creamy and a little bit more matte on the skin. So if you are looking for something that's not going to make your skin super, super glowy and dewy, and you just want something that's very simple and not very visible, I would say that this one is really nice. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit creamier, but it still gives off that serum vibe where it blends in really quickly and it doesn't feel like a sunscreen as much as the tower28 one would. And this one feels more like a sunscreen because it has to be thicker, because of the pigment inside and the fact that it gives a little bit of coverage. It's definitely going to be a little bit more like a thicker sunscreen. This one is definitely a very lovely one. I like using it. I find it very moisturizing for my skin, especially because I have dry skin, but it's not overwhelming in the sense that it gives off that super glossy, dewy look that, you know, we might not want in the summer if we're already sweating. So yeah, I would say that this is definitely a good choice, but you really can't go wrong with any of these sunscreens, I'm not gonna lie. Okay everyone, well thank you for watching this video. I hope that this guided you a little bit in the direction that you want to go with some new sunscreens you could add to your collection for this spring and summer. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below or DM me at my Instagram or literally anywhere. I will answer you, I will help you as best as I can. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, it really helps me out, and like this video, and watch my other videos, and follow me on social media if you'd like to see more content from me. But I will see you guys another time. Bye.
I could see you, baby, in a different light.